Paltrocast.
Lynda, how is your day going aside from having to talk to me and answer boring media-ish questions?
How is my day going? Really? Well, my dogs, I have three dogs, they get up at 5:30 and I can't move their timeline. They just all get up, they eat, I go back to bed, we walk. It's always a crazy household around here.
Well,
But
let's be honest, with New York Film Academy being everywhere in the world in every time zone, you were always on call to begin with between the dogs and the NYFA.
yeah, kind of. I have three horses, three dogs. I'm very animal person. So yeah, I think it keeps me young. Why
That
not?
makes sense. Sure. So I first saw you on Happy Days, I think like most people, but then over time you go, oh yeah, I saw her in Pretty Woman and Beaches and The Love Boat and Fantasy Island. Like we've seen you around the place just a few times. But
Right.
how did you wind up with the New York Film Academy?
Great question. So, as a lot of people do, you have one career for a long time and then you pivot because of circumstances. So, after Happy Days and a couple other series, I decided I really wanted to teach. So I opened up my own acting school, which was wonderful. I studied with Lee Strasberg and Meisner, the two greatest, masters. And I
Yeah.
really loved the craft of acting. And somebody said, why don't you teach? I said, I've kind of thought about it. So I opened up my school. It was successful. People wanted me to manage them. And I'm not a manager, but I'll try. I became very successful as a manager, and I loved doing that. I loved helping actors and coaching actors. And I did that for about 22 years. And then, as the business does, it just, I'm getting a little burned out from this. And I missed teaching because I'd closed my school when I really started managing. So somebody said, New York Film Academy. I said, I'll go and teach a class. How fun, just one class. And I just loved it. And I love teaching. There's something exciting always in all these years of teaching. I love, the light bulb going off in somebody that's just, on the beginning of their path. So I started teaching there a couple of classes and maybe three classes. And then they were looking for a chair for the acting department. And I'm going, well, I don't know if I'm the chair. And, my daughter actually said, but Mom, you've been a manager, you've been an actress, you've run a big acting school. I had two schools. And I said, okay, maybe. And then I realized I really loved that job. So I was chair of the acting department for 11 years. And then recently pivoted again because I'm going, I think I want to teach again. I want to do some other things. And managing a department, chairing a department is, 8 days a week. So I'm going, let's do something different. So now I'm creative director. So, which I have to say is really fun because they said, well, what do you want to do? And I
Mhm.
told them, and they said, okay. I love the school. I've been there 17 years. And so I helped develop the master's program and the bachelor's program. I developed this project called the thesis film for actors when I first became chair, which now I oversee. And that's very exciting for me because I see these young actors be creatives. They don't have to wait like I did. If you're right for a role
Right.
and you audition well, you get the job. Maybe. And as long as you have the right color hair, So, it was really about, you know, finding something that I am good at and that I can offer to somebody. And that makes a difference. It really does. I've always felt like I want to add something. And there's something that happens for an actor, for me, and I know a lot of other actors, when you've been somewhat successful and you've been working as an actor and you've learned a lot about it. And all of a sudden you go, but now I want to pass it on. I want to give it to somebody else and help them because there's so much knowledge. I felt so much knowledge. I studied for probably 14 years and
Mhm.
I go do a series and on 5 months hiatus, I come back and work with my teachers. And, I go to acting class now if I had time, but not with the horses and dogs and the teaching. But
Yeah.
it really is so rewarding to pass that on to somebody. in the beginning, when you're young, it's all about you. I want to be a star, and I want to be noticed and loved and celebrity. But then you go, now I want to go there. Let's give it to you. And so I love teaching. It's never boring. It's always something new and refreshing to me. And so I'm really happy doing that and overseeing their thesis films, which for actors is very powerful. Now there's so many shows that are developed by actors,
Yes.
starring actors. Abbott Elementary is the perfect example.
Well, if I can rudely interrupt you right there.
Please don't even be rude, just interrupt.
So 15 or so years ago, I saw the tides turn where all the Judd Apatow actors also started doing the screenwriting and the producing and the directing as well. But I was trying to think, where was the first batch of actors who became the producers and the directors? And you know where I think it came from?
What's that?
Happy Days.
Could be Ron Howard.
Henry has endlessly produced things as
Oh
well.
yeah.
And Donnie and Anson, no slouches either. They've popped up in a lot of places as well. So maybe Happy Days might have been the first series where the actors also became the producers and directors.
And Lucille Ball, probably, if you want to really go back.
Yeah.
But in a broader context, I agree. Ron, who is one of the nicest human beings on this planet. He is just an amazing person, director, actor, and the kindest person I know, I think. But he always wanted to direct, and he was always, when we were filming, he'd stand behind the camera. We still did film. Three's Company was one of the first shows that actually did videotape. And we were always like, videotape, it looks terrible. Film looks so rich. But we did film, which was very expensive. And but Ron would stand by the camera and want to ask the director. We were very in those days, it was unusual. We had the same director, Jerry Paris, for 11 years.
Yeah, very, very
22 shows a year. And they don't do that anymore. And the great benefit was that we were a family, and he knew how we worked. He knew what worked for us. It was playtime. We were really allowed to play and find things. But he would stand with Jerry and ask him questions. And the last couple of years, he left the show because he really wanted to direct. That was his heart. So proud of him. He's an amazing director. So yeah, I think you're right. I think it really started with that. And now it is, my daughter, who's been an agent and manager in the industry, handles multi-hyphenates. And I said, what is a multi-hyphenate? She says, it's the actor, producer, writer, director.
right.
And that's for an actor where you really can open up your career now, I think. So it is an exciting time for actors. And for us, we've been doing this for a long time we're very cross-pollinated in the department. So I also teach in the filmmaking department. I teach in acting for directors and directing actors. There's a writing for actors. There's filmmaking in the acting program. So everybody learns the creative arts. And I think these days it's valuable because actors can go make their own stuff. And they have that iPhone 15, which is better than some of the cameras that we have.
Well, if I can piggyback a compliment on that, there's the old adage of those who can't teach do, those who do can't teach. But in your case, not only were you on TV, but you handled the talent, you taught the talent privately, et cetera, through your school. So that's a very unique thing, because when I think of some of the professors that I had who were teaching me communications in college, they were not good communicators. They didn't run any PR departments or crisis management things. They weren't on camera. So you go, where are the credentials? In your case, it sounds like the NYFA people, they do and teach.
Yeah, I mean, all of us, every department. I know the head of academic affairs has directed 3 films. She's a producer and director of 3 films this year.
Sure.
And I mean, that is kind of our signature. We want people who are, most of our department have their master's degrees, but they also have professional experience because we teach you how to be a professional. My kind of expertise, what I teach in the acting department is the business of acting, agents and managers, and I know from the ground up how to audition. So that's
Right.
kind of my expertise, which I really enjoy because, yeah, we taught you what to do, but now what do you do after? And a lot of schools, I don't think a lot of schools focus on that. Like, yeah, you have a degree, bye bye, good luck, see ya.
That was my experience, unfortunately. So, two more questions about NYFA, and then I'll let you go and roam free and put out
Okay.
all the fires that you have to
No,
put out in a normal day.
that's okay.
But I'm curious with NYFA, is it rolling admissions or is it a traditional fall, spring, summer semester kind of deal?
We have 3 semesters. We have let me think, January, a May, and an end of August. So we have a spring, a summer, and a fall start dates. Most of our students start in the fall. So students can take a semester off, a couple semesters, come back. Most of them want to get through it. For instance, our BFA is a traditional 8 semesters, but you can do it in 3 years.
Hmm.
So you can practice your craft, get out, do it as soon as you can. And, when I was going to college, you had to have a summer break, which I guess at the time was expected and nice, but I wanted to get out. I wanted to get out and go to New York, which I did. So I just took a lot of classes and graduated in 3 years with my degree, so bachelor's degree. So I think it's a well done program in that you get so much information and you can get it in a compact way. And what I tell actors is enjoy this time. I know it's intense, but you will never, ever get to just go to take acting classes 5 days a week, work with filmmakers, and go home and enjoy your day. You will have to work as a waitress, as a bartender, unless you have, rich families and uncles. But you will enjoy this time. It's a luxury to do nothing but your craft.
Sure. And
So
being that there are campuses everywhere, including Australia, the
yeah.
NYFA, does that mean that you could do a semester abroad very easily?
Yeah, so you can go to New York, you can go to South Beach. Australia doesn't have quite the same degree programs we have, but we have had a lot of people start in Miami, then come to LA to finish out. It is an advantage. We are right where the studios are, so I think that's an advantage to us. But I grew up in Florida. It's a beautiful, beautiful place to study. I lived in New York. New York has its own element and tone to it, which is exciting. And you have to learn to walk a lot, but
Yeah.
but no, it is a great, it's a great advantage that you can study at different campuses and get something different, and work with different instructors. So
And then rudely, I'm going to shoehorn one more question in, and that is on Happy Days. Did you get to spend much time with Pat Morita? If so, what was he like? Because I think that he was an innovative comedic force that never really got his due. Most people think of him as Mr. Miyagi, but being an Ed Sullivan comic, he really trailblazed.
that's interesting. Yeah. I only worked with him for a few years and then he left the show and Al Molinaro took over. But I have to say, I was fortunate. I worked on several series under Gary Marshall. Gary set the tone for all of his shows. Every show we had, it was a family. If you didn't get along, you weren't going to be on that show.
Mm-hmm.
And we played baseball, we traveled together, so Tony Danza from Taxi and Eddie Mecca from Laverne and our cast, we'd all travel together on a plane, go to Miami, play baseball for charity. It was good times. It was happy days. But yes, a very, very talented, very gentle man.
Well, thank you for all this wonderful information about the craft, about NYFA and looking forward to what's to come from you, whether it is the professor, the creative, etc. Thank you for being you, Lynda.
I appreciate it. Lovely to talk to you.
Paltrocast.